Hey, my name is Malcolm Lawson with the YouTube channel Survival Know-How. City Prepping was kind enough to let me post one of my videos to his YouTube channel. And did you know that the CDC has a list of 21 very specific items that it wants you to keep in your home at all times? So these items will help you be prepared for any number of natural and man-made disasters, everything from a hurricane to biological warfare to a pandemic. So in today's video, we're gonna break down each of these 21 items. I'll give you my thoughts on each of them. And at the end of the video, I'm gonna give you a few additional items that I recommend you keep in your emergency kit as well. The CDC did not include on their list. So the CDC really breaks their list down into two sections. The first 15 items are gonna be kind of the core and like essential items of your emergency kit. And then the last 6 items are gonna be more specific to your specific situation. So one of the first items that they recommend that you buy is a NOAA weather radio. And I absolutely agree with this. I think that an emergency radio like this is incredibly valuable during really bad weather, like a bad thunderstorm or a hurricane or right after a tornado. Having access to information is gonna be critical during a disaster, and you can't always rely on your internet or on the cell phone, but during most disasters, you'll still be able to get information from your radio. And what I like about this particular one is it has multiple sources of power. So on the back here, you can see that it just takes AA batteries, which we all probably have in our home already, but it also has a rechargeable battery right here, and you can recharge this in a couple of different ways. One is you could literally just plug this into a USB port to maybe plug it into your car or charge the battery before a bad hurricane or storm, but you can also charge it from the solar panel on top of the radio. And then lastly, you can also charge it from the crank on the side of the radio as well. And what's great is that this also doubles as a flashlight. So during an emergency, if the power goes out, you at a very least have a minimum 1 flashlight with you right here, and it's a rechargeable flashlight. And also has a few different like emergency beacon settings on it as well. I remember when Hurricane Sandy struck New York City and you saw huge sections of the city go without power for up to a week. FEMA actually came in with food, clean water, blankets, and other resources, but the problem is most of the residents, they didn't know that FEMA was literally just a few blocks away giving away food and water. If those residents had an emergency radio like this, they would be able to hear the broadcast and know that FEMA was giving away food and water literally just a few blocks down the street from them. And that's why I think an emergency radio like this that gets the NOAA weather station is one of the first items that you should buy for your emergency kit. So the next item that the CDC wants you to keep in your home is water. Specifically, they want you to keep 1 gallon of water per person per day for up to 3 days. So if you have a family of 5, that means they want you to keep a spare 15 gallons of water in your home. And the purpose of the water is not just for drinking, but it's also for cooking food, it's for sanitation, it's for cleaning your clothes. And you can buy a gallon of water like this for less than $1. So if you got a family of 5, go down to your grocery store, spend $15, buy 15 gallons of water like this, and just go store it under your stairs or in a closet somewhere. So the next thing that they want you to keep is physical copies of important documents. So birth certificates, marriage certificates, copies of your deed, and keep them all in one secure spot. And I'd even recommend that you buy something like this. So this is a portable fireproof safe that has a handle on it. And I have copies of all my important records in this safe. And then if there ever isn't a disaster or an emergency and I need to evacuate, it has a handle so I can easily and quickly grab this. If there's a fire in my house or my house floods, everything is still going to be safe right here, and it's going to make it so much easier for me to rebuild and kind of recover after a major natural disaster. Next, they want you to have 3 days worth of food for you and your entire family. There's a couple different routes that you can go with this. You could just buy extra quantities of food that you typically eat that is non-perishable. So maybe some like Cheerios and some macaroni and cheese, some tuna fish cans, something like that. The other option is you can buy some freeze-dried packaged meals like this. This is really meant for camping, but all you do is add some hot water and you've got some biscuits and gravy. So buy enough of these for 3 meals for each member of your family for up to 3 days. You could also buy some military surplus MREs. This stands for meal ready to eat, and this is what they hand out in the military. Now, I will say that some of these MREs have a lot of calories and they're very calorically dense. Some of them may have up to 2,000 calories, but they're a completely self-enclosed and have everything that you need in here. They've even got little heaters in here to heat up your food. They typically have like some Gatorade or some kind of powder to mix with water to give you some electrolytes. They usually have something sweet in there as well. And you can usually find these for $8 to $10 per MRE. The last option is that you can simply buy a bucket of emergency freeze-dried food like this. You can see here that this has 60 servings of meals, and it will last you up to 25 years. In reality, it probably lasts even longer than that. So if you just want to check this box off and not think about it anymore, you can easily just buy a variety pack of prepackaged freeze-dried food like this, and this will be more than enough for you and your whole family for 3 days. So the next item they want you to have is a first aid kit, and this is kind of a no-brainer. You should absolutely have one of these in your homes for emergencies. And there are a few specific items that you want to make sure your first aid kit has or buy and include in your first aid kit. And one of those is going to be N95 respirators. So obviously right now during the pandemic, these are invaluable, and there's a complete shortage of them when this pandemic first hit. There's a lot of other situations that an N95 respirator could come in handy. Let's say there's a bad hurricane and there's flood water in your area. After those flood waters recede, there may be dead fish, dead animals, there may be raw sewage that leaked into that water as well. Or let's say your home did experience flooding during a hurricane, now you have to worry about mold over the next few days. So having some N95 respirators will protect you from being around dead animals as well as from mold spores. Next, the CDC wants you to have an extra cell phone charger in your emergency kit, and that's definitely a smart move. You can buy cell phone chargers for $5 now. They're incredibly cheap, and I would actually take this a step further and also recommend that you get a battery backup for your phone as well. Every time I know that there's a hurricane or a bad storm coming my way, I always charge this battery backup, and I can actually charge my phone off this little battery up to 3 times. So if I lose power in my home, I'll know that I'll have a charged phone for the next couple of days. And you can buy these anywhere from $10 all the way up to $50 or $60, depending on how good of a battery backup you want to buy. Next, they want you to keep extra sanitation and personal hygiene items. So these are things like extra toothpaste, toothbrush, some hand sanitizer, some soap, and they also include bleach in this. And bleach is actually incredibly useful during an emergency situation. One for sanitation, but there's also a lot of practical uses for it. You mix a little bleach with some water in a spray bottle, and you can pretty effectively kill a lot of mold with that. You can also sanitize water with just a little bit of bleach in your water as well. If you get through a tornado or a hurricane or a bad storm, you may have to go up to a week without any power. So that's a week without you taking a shower or having access to hot water. So you're really gonna have to focus on your personal hygiene and try to stay as clean as possible. So the next item that they want you to keep in your home is cash. And this is something that I've personally done for a long time. I usually try to keep at least $1,000 cash in my home at all times, and preferably in as small of a bill as possible. And the real reason behind this is, let's say your entire community has to go without power, let's say for up to a week, but you still need gas for your generator or food from the grocery store, but their ATMs and their credit card machines are not working without power. They're still going to be selling gas and selling groceries, but only to those customers that have cash. And this is the biggest reason why you need to have some cash on hand for emergency situations. The next is going to be an extra set of clothes and a sleeping bag or blankets for each member of your family. So let's say you do suffer through a bad flood and the entire first floor of your home gets flooded out and everybody's clothes gets ruined and all your bedding gets ruined. If you at least stored away extra clothes and blankets for each member of your family up on the second floor, you know that everybody will at least stay dry and warm during an emergency. Next is going to be physical maps of your local area. So let's say there is a major disaster and the roads are now no longer passable by vehicle. You and your family may need to evacuate your area on foot. If your phone is also dead, you're not going to be able to rely on your GPS anymore. So having a physical map will help you evacuate your city or even navigate to the local hospital or police station during an emergency. So next, they're saying multi-purpose supplies. So these are going to be things like pliers and screwdrivers and also duct tape. And these items will come in handy in any number of situations that may arise that is kind of hard to specifically predict. So next, I recommend at least 7 days of supplies of any medication that you're on. So don't wait until you're on your very last pill to finally go get that prescription refilled. Try to get the refill as soon as you can so you have some overlap and you never go without at least 7 days worth of medication. And we actually saw this exact situation play out during the pandemic when we saw many pharmacies experience shortages of specific medications. But let's say your car gets damaged from a bad storm or flooding, or even the road itself gets damaged from an earthquake or from downed trees, and you can't access your pharmacy. If you're on any types of important medication, you want to have as much supply of that on hand at all times. So the next item they want you to have in your home is flashlights. And there's really two different main categories of flashlights. You can have a directional flashlight like this, or you can get an omnidirectional flashlight, otherwise known as a lantern like this. And I gotta be honest, during an emergency situation, during a power outage situation, I much prefer having a lantern like this that can illuminate an entire room and really free up your hands. If you're trying to cook something or use the bathroom, but you have to kind of hold a flashlight at the same time while you're doing it, it's really inconvenient and it really doesn't illuminate an entire room. And you have to have a flashlight for each person. But with a lantern like this, you could have one lantern for the entire family or the entire room. I also recommend that you look into getting solar powered flashlights or lanterns. So something like this is from Hybrid Light, and during a bad emergency or a prolonged power outage, you can store this outdoors for it to charge up in the daytime and then it'd be fully charged for you in the evening or at the nighttime. What I like about Hybrid Light is they actually have two different batteries in there. They have a replaceable battery, and then they also have their rechargeable battery. So if you have batteries on you and you need light right now, you can use your replaceable battery. Then the rechargeable battery is more of a backup in case you don't have any more of the replaceable batteries. So next I want to make sure that you have extra batteries in your home as well. And the type of battery is going to be specific to what your flashlights and radios use. And I would try to get purposeful when you're buying these items and try to get your flashlights and your emergency radios and any other items that you may have all to use the same type of battery, whatever that may be. So the next item is going to be a copy of your family disaster plan. And a big part of your disaster plan is going to have all your emergency contacts. The truth is, for many of us, we don't memorize phone numbers anymore. Most people only have 1 or 2 phone numbers memorized, but you want to make sure that you have your aunts and your uncles and your family members and friends, their addresses and their phone numbers actually written out on a piece of paper in case there is some sort of emergency or some sort of disaster and you don't have access to your cell phone anymore. So that's the core 15 items that the CDC wants you to keep in your emergency kit. The next 6 items are going to be specific to specific situations that you may find yourself in. So the next item is going to be any specific medical supplies that you and your family may need. So it may be things like hearing aids or extra pairs of glasses or contact lenses. If you're diabetic, you may want some extra syringes in your kit as well. Next, if you have a baby or a toddler, you want extra supplies for them. So extra diapers, extra formulas, extra wet wipes. It's very easy to overlook extra items like this, but you want to make sure that you have at least 3 days worth of baby supplies in your emergency kit. Next, if you have any children, you want games, books, activities in your emergency kit as well. If you have to go 3-4 days without any power, those kids are going to get incredibly restless, incredibly bored, and you want something to kind of keep their minds active. And personally, I think it's a good idea to have a deck of cards and some books in any emergency kits, even for the adults. You know, when people get bored, that's when they start losing their discipline and they start doing stupid things. In some disasters, the best thing that you can do is literally just stay indoors and shelter in place. And if you have some activities kind of keeping your mind stimulated, most adults will be able to go longer sheltering in place and not lose their discipline and go outside when they know that they probably shouldn't. Next, if you have pets, you want extra leashes and food and carriers for your pets, and I would even include copies of all the shots and vaccines that they received. So the next item on their list is a two-way radio. And yeah, this could definitely come in handy if you've got a family and one of your family members is venturing off looking for gasoline or food, something like that. Having that line of communication between your family and the person leaving your home is going to be very, very important. Just make sure that you have extra batteries for your two-way radios as well. So the next item that I recommend is extra sets of your car keys and your house keys. You know, let's say you do experience a bad flooding or tornado or something to this effect and you lose your car key. your car may still work and be perfectly fine, but you just don't have that little key to get it started. So having an extra backup key could definitely be incredibly valuable during specific types of disasters. Now, there are a couple of items that I recommend that you keep in your emergency kit as well that the CDC did not have on their list. And one of those items is going to be a little propane camping stove. But something like this is simple, is compact, and it's affordable. But this will allow you to boil and sanitize water in a bad situation, and also allow you to cook a lot of other foods, and just kind of give you that mental boost of having a warm meal or even a warm drink in your belly. If you do use a propane burner like this, just make sure that you use it outdoors. And the next item I recommend you keep in your emergency kit is going to be some hand warmers. If you have to go without power, most likely you're going without any heat sources in your home as well. And depending on your location and the specific situation, it may get incredibly cold in your home, and hand warmers like this may be your only source of heat for several days at a time. And they're pretty inexpensive, so you might as well buy a pack and keep it in your emergency kit. So if you want to learn more about urban and wilderness survival, definitely check out my YouTube channel, Survival Know-How. And on my channel, I cover everything from emergency preparedness to camping to wilderness survival skills. Once again, a huge thank you to City Prepping for hosting my video, and I'll see you over on my channel.